Chelsea just secured a massive win against Liverpool, but the man who quietly dominated the entire game went completely unnoticed. That man is Moisés Caicedo, and despite overwhelming evidence, no one is willing to say he's the best central defensive midfielder in the league right now.
Yeah, when he first came, it wasn't quite happening for him, was it? He was playing in that two in midfield alongside Enzo, and everyone looking at him thinking, well, what is he? But now, I'm breathing before I say it, because I'm trying to think of players like Declan Rice and others in the league, but I think Caicedo is the best midfield player in the league, and he's performing like that.
Caicedo nicely away from McAllister, opening up for a shot for Moisés Caicedo!
Now we have Caicedo, those fantastic players who give their lives every game, and with a feeling, with an art, because we used to call them water carrier. Before, they were in the shade of the others and everything. They were the bad people, destroying David Bailly, the fantastic Roy Keane. But those players are completely essentials to a team, and they are really the wall, the fixed wall, the best wall to make sure that the team's going to work. And Caicedo is showing that to the world.
How can the Premier League's most consistent midfielder be almost invisible? To understand that, we have to go back to where he learned to fight for space on dusty fields in Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo wasn't peaceful for a young boy dreaming about football. The youngest of 10, Caicedo learned that life only gives you what you chase. His father drove a rickshaw. His mother washed clothes for neighbors to keep food on the table. Out on the worn concrete pitches, goals were built from rocks. You played until the sun vanished, or until the older brothers decided they'd had enough of you. That's where Moisés learned his two gifts: balance and resilience.
And that's where his story came out to not only me, but the whole of the team, really. And the lads are amazed in a way of his responsibility to his family, and we were all in awe of him, really.
One morning, while striking a ball over and over against a cracked wall, a local coach named Ivan Guerrera stopped to watch. The precision, the left-right control, it looked practiced, not random. Guerrera brought him into his youth side, bought him his first boots, paid his travel, and even helped his family eat. That generosity turned raw talent into possibility. At 13, Caicedo wore his first real team shirt. By the time he reached Independiente de Val's elite academy, the dream had grown.
It's the best academy in Ecuador. I can say one of the best in the world also.
Then came the nightmare, a ruptured knee ligament at 17, 10 months lost. He cried often, and the staff worried he might never return. But the academy's facilities nurtured him physically and mentally. Customized diets, psychology sessions, recovery drills. He rebuilt himself one lonely day at a time. When he finally returned, there was a clear difference. Faster, stronger, smarter. Within months, he was starting for the first team, even flying between youth tournaments and senior matches in the same week. Scouts whispered his name, Brighton took notice, and took a £4.5 million gamble most clubs wouldn't have dared.
Very happy to be in Brighton.
I think we'll have to be, patient with him, let him settle in, let him adapt to us and a new country and a new team and a new league. But yeah, he's an exciting young player.
That flight to England felt more like exile than arrival. A teenager in another continent, carrying his country's promise, stepped into grey skies, cold rain, and a Premier League full of giants. The football he'd chased barefoot in Santo Domingo was suddenly real and unforgiving. When Chelsea paid close to £100 million for Moisés Caicedo, the expectation was instant stardom.
He was never in doubt. I was always available.
British record fee, headlines dripping with pressure. Every fan imagined a new superstar, a highlight machine who'd make goals and headlines. But Caicedo's job has never been to decorate football, it's to control it, and that made him a target. His debut against West Ham unravelled from the first whistle. The pace overran him, the red shirts pressed, and a misplaced tackle inside the box turned into a penalty. Chelsea lost. Cameras zoomed in as he dropped to his knees. It didn't matter that he'd only trained a handful of times. Overnight, the overpriced flop tag was born. No one saw the other part. A young man, barely settled in London, living in a new language, adjusting to a dressing room already spinning through managerial changes. Mauricio Pochettino tried to steady him, reminding fans that adaptation takes time. Under Enzo Maresca, later, his rhythm finally returned. Precise, efficient, and tireless.
So we are quite good, and off the ball also is giving us balance, so for sure could be an option.
Behind the ball, his work rate looks dramatic, but pause the game and you see it. That half-second shuffle, closing an angle, the scan before receiving, the pass that resets pressure before it becomes panic. He does football's invisible labor, the things that aren't replayed but make everything replayable. Comparisons came quickly. Declan Rice's bursts, Rodri's composure, and now Caicedo's quiet authority.
He's a top player, yeah. And Rodri fed. This doesn't mean that I don't rate Rodri. It's the completely opposite.
All three control the heart of the pitch, but in different tongues. Rice dominates through presence, Rodri through tempo, Caicedo through anticipation. His eyes read danger before it arrives, like a chess player seeing 3 moves ahead. At Brighton, he'd been known for pairs, partnered with McAllister, Mitoma, Etsupinan, always the one connecting dots so others could paint. Chelsea wanted the same heartbeat, but underestimated how invisible it could seem. When his team struggled early on, pundits questioned why a £100 million man wasn't turning games alone. But midfield generals aren't soloists, they're conductors whose music only works when others play in tune. Those first chaotic moments tested him. Social media turned brutal.
Last season, he signed for how much? 115 million? 100 million, whatever it may be. He wasn't good enough.
He avoided interviews, kept his head down, spent free evenings praying or FaceTiming his mother back in Ecuador. By mid-season, though, the numbers began to turn. Top percentile in tackles won, interceptions, recoveries, and pass completion under pressure. The critics stayed loud, but the data spoke clearly. Chelsea didn't lose control of matches when he played. Managers knew Pochettino kept him as one of the first names on every team sheet. Maresca built his new structure around him, sometimes as a holding 6, sometimes as an inverted fullback, stepping next to the centre-backs. The Italian explained that Caicedo's presence gave Chelsea strength, order, and calm. That Liverpool game showed it best. While cameras chased João Pedro's flair, Caicedo quietly dismantled Liverpool's midfield. Every second ball, every attempted link between attack and defense dissolved at his feet. He wasn't sliding recklessly, he was intercepting on instinct, nicking passes before they existed. Fans cheered others, but his discipline throttled a team known for chaos. The match ended with pundits praising Maresca's tactics, yet the blueprint was drawn by number 25. Later, even critics began to shift tone. Former doubters admitted they'd misread him, confusing invisibility for inconsistency, like a goalkeeper who never faces a shot because he's always in the right place. Caicedo rarely needs the dazzling movement. His best plays remove danger before it enters the frame. Still, the question lingered. How can someone this good remain unnoticed? Maybe because there's no showmanship, no camera-ready aggression, no choreographed celebration. He doesn't brand himself, he disarms games. Chelsea's attack flares and fades, their form oscillates, but Moisés remains the same. Steady, precise, indispensable. Some players win applause, others win balance. On the field, Caicedo wins silence, the kind that only true control can create. And that silence has always followed him, from those rocky pitches of Ecuador to the roar of the Premier League, where he's proven that real stars aren't always the ones the crowd can see. For most fans, greatness is something loud, a screamer from 30 yards, a moment that floods social media. But Caicedo's greatness lives in the spaces between moments. Every time an opponent hesitates, every time Chelsea escape pressure without panic, that's him shaping the game quietly. And in modern football, the quiet profession rarely trends. The Premier League celebrates its stars in high definition. Palmer's flicks, Salah's curlers, Saka's surges. Defensive craft is almost anti-content. Pundits replay goals, not recoveries. Clips of him intercepting a pass look like normal defending, not art. That's how a player in the top 1% of recoveries can still feel invisible next to anyone scoring twice a month. The narrative doesn't help either. Chelsea's instability make individual excellence blur into collective disappointment. When the club struggles, the microscope zooms on managers, forwards, missed chances, not the midfielder keeping the floor from collapsing. Caicedo's importance is structural, not cinematic. He doesn't win headlines simply because his work prevents the drama that creates them. There's also something deeper here. His refusal to self-advertise. No soundbites, no stage celebrations, no off-pitch statements about proving people wrong. In interviews, he speaks about gratitude, faith, and improvement.
A great day for the club, for me especially, so yeah, so happy.
The message never changes. Even when praise finally comes, coaches say he leads by tone, not volume. When Maresca shouts tactical tweaks from the touchline, Caicedo simply nods, adjusts 2 steps, and restores balance. To his teammates, he's become Chelsea's Roy Keane without the camera fury, demanding, disciplined, never satisfied. Others compare him to Michael Essien, all power and reliability, but updated for new era football. Yet, outside the dressing room, few realize how integral he is. Without him, Enzo Fernandez can't push forward freely. Fullbacks can invert because he covers the gaps they leave. He's the safeguard that makes innovation possible. His invisibility isn't a flaw, it's proof of mastery. To watch Moisés closely is to realize how many crises he erases before they reveal themselves. His timing is metronomic, his understanding instinctive, and that reliability might be his curse in highlight culture. You only notice stability when it's gone, but something is changing. Maresca's Chelsea have rhythm again, and every statistic, every tactical map begins where Caicedo stands. When Chelsea win now, journalists mention his name earlier. Analysts discuss his heat maps, his dual win rate, his efficiency in transition.
Slowly but surely, they've released Fernandez a little bit further up the pitch, and he's sort of gone, oh, right, this is my domain. I'm going to look after this. This is what I normally do. He's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant on the ball and off the ball.
The same qualities that once rendered him unseen are finally defining him. Control, continuity, calm. He isn't chasing recognition anymore. The spotlight is catching up to him on its own. Because, sooner or later, football always notices the ones it depends on. And for Chelsea, dependence has a name stitched on the back of a blue number 25. Not every era is defined by goals. Some belong to those who make goals possible. Caicedo's story began on cracked ground, where he learned that control isn't about power, it's about patience. That lesson now dictates how Chelsea breathe. When people look back on this team, they may not recall every touch he made, but they'll remember how games felt safe when he played, how others looked freer, braver, sharper, because the person behind them never lost focus. Greatness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hums quietly for 90 minutes, unnoticed until it stops. For players like Moisés Caicedo, legacy isn't about highlight reels, it's about influence, measured not in applause, but in balance. From the streets of Santo Domingo to the floodlights of the Premier League, he's shown that football still has room for humility and precision in a world obsessed with spectacle.